Document. Part 1. The skies above Geneva were unusually clear that morning. The kind of day where the world seemed quiet and peaceful. But beneath the calm exterior, something extraordinary was about to unfold. High above the city, a shimmering object descended silently, its surface glowing with an otherworldly light. It wasn't like anything anyone had seen before. Sleek, oval-shaped craft that hovered effortlessly over the United Nations headquarters. People stopped in their tracks, staring upward, as the ship emitted a low hum, vibrating through the air like a distant melody. On the ground, Daniel Carter stood at the center of a group of officials, his hands clasped tightly behind his back. As head of the United Nations Space Exploration Committee, he had been briefed on this moment for weeks. An alien delegate was coming to Earth, but no one knew exactly what it meant for humanity. Beside him stood Rachel Miller, a sharp-minded astrophysicist whose curiosity outweighed her fear. Her eyes were wide with wonder as she watched the ship slowly lower itself onto a specially prepared landing pad. Across from them, Ethan Brooks crossed his arms, his expression skeptical. A military strategist by trade, Ethan didn't trust anything he couldn't control, and aliens certainly fell into that category. The craft touched down gently, sending a ripple of anticipation through the crowd of scientists, diplomats, and security personnel gathered around. For a few moments, nothing happened. Then, a soft hiss echoed as a hatch opened on the side of the ship. Out stepped a figure unlike any human. Tall and slender, with smooth silver skin and large almond-shaped eyes, the alien moved gracefully toward the group. He introduced himself as Ziller, speaking in perfect English, with a voice that was both melodic and commanding. "I come in peace," Ziller began, raising one hand in what appeared to be a gesture of goodwill. "But my message is urgent. Humanity stands at a crossroads, and your actions will determine not only your fate, but the fate of countless others." Daniel stepped forward cautiously, extending his hand. After a brief pause, Ziller mirrored the gesture, his touch cool and firm. "We welcome you, Ziller," Daniel said, trying to keep his tone steady, despite the weight of the situation. "Your arrival has sparked many questions. We hope you can provide answers." Ziller nodded solemnly. "I have come to warn you. Your species has begun exploring beyond your solar system, which is admirable. However, there are forces in the galaxy far older and more powerful than you realize. If you provoke these civilizations, especially the Krill Dominion, it will lead to your destruction." Rachel leaned forward slightly, intrigued. "The Krill Dominion? Who are they?" "They are conquerors," Ziller replied, his gaze sweeping over the group. "A race that thrives on domination and erases anything they see as a threat. They do not negotiate. They do not forgive. And now, they know of your existence." Ethan scoffed, breaking the tension. "So you're saying we should just roll over and hide? That's not how humans operate. We protect ourselves." Ziller turned to face him directly, his expression unreadable. "I am aware of your nature, Ethan Brooks. You value strength and resilience. But against the Krill, even your strongest weapons would be meaningless. Believe me when I say this. Attacking them or provoking them in any way means certain doom." The words hung heavy in the air, leaving the group silent. Some looked doubtful, others fearful, but all were undeniably captivated. Whatever Ziller's true intentions might be, one thing was clear: he had their full attention. And as the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the tarmac, humanity found itself facing a decision that could change everything. Document. Part 2. Back inside the United Nations headquarters, the atmosphere was tense. The room buzzed with murmurs as delegates and scientists tried to process what Ziller had said. Rachel Miller sat quietly at the edge of the conference table, her mind racing. She couldn't shake the feeling that Ziller's warning wasn't just some elaborate trick. His words felt too precise, too urgent. Across from her, Ethan Brooks leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, his face a mask of skepticism. "This is ridiculous." Ethan finally broke the silence, his voice sharp. "We don't even know if this Krill Dominion actually exists. For all we know, Xyler could be trying to scare us into doing something or not doing something that benefits his own people." Rachel frowned, tapping her pen lightly against the table. "That doesn't explain why he'd come all this way just to lie to us. What does he gain from warning us? If anything, he's putting himself at risk by coming here." Ethan shrugged. "Maybe he's testing us, seeing how we react. Or maybe he's part of a bigger plan we can't see yet." Daniel Carter, seated at the head of the table, raised a hand to quiet them both. "Speculation isn't helping anyone right now. What matters is figuring out whether Ziller's warning is credible and what it means for Earth." He turned to General Laura Hayes, who was sitting nearby. "Laura, what's your take on this?" The general didn't hesitate. "If Ziller is telling the truth, then we're dealing with a threat unlike anything we've faced before. But if he's lying or worse, working with whoever these Krill are, we need to act fast. I say, we keep him under close watch while we gather more information." Rachel nodded slowly. "He offered to show us proof. Holograms, data, whatever he has about these so-called galactic wars. If we analyze it carefully, we might be able to tell if he's being honest." Ethan snorted. "And what if it's fake? What if he's feeding us false information to manipulate us?" "He hasn't given us any reason to distrust him yet," Rachel countered. "Besides, if there's even a chance he's telling the truth, we can't afford to ignore him." As the debate continued, Ziller waited patiently in an adjacent chamber, accompanied by a small team of security personnel. Though outwardly calm, he watched the humans through a one-way window, studying their expressions and body language. They were divided, uncertain, and cautious, all traits he expected from a species still learning its place in the universe. Still, he hoped they would listen. Time was running out, and the Krill were not known for their patience. When the group finally returned, Daniel spoke first. "Ziller, we've discussed your warning, and we want to hear more. Show us whatever evidence you have. But understand this, if we find out you're misleading us, there will be consequences." Ziller inclined his head slightly. "I understand, Daniel Carter. My goal is to help, not harm. Allow me to share what I know." With that, he activated a device strapped to his wrist, projecting a series of holographic images into the air. The room fell silent as glowing depictions of alien worlds, massive starships, and devastating battles filled the space. Ziller narrated each scene, explaining how entire civilizations had been wiped out by the Krill Dominion. One image showed a planet reduced to rubble, its surface scorched and lifeless. Another depicted fleets of ships clashing in deep space, explosions lighting up the void like fireworks. Rachel stared at the projections, her heart pounding. It was hard to believe such destruction was possible, but harder still to dismiss it outright. Beside her, Ethan squinted, searching for inconsistencies or signs of fabrication. So far, he found none. This changes everything," Rachel murmured, breaking the silence. "If even half of this is true, we're completely unprepared for something like this." Ethan clenched his jaw, but said nothing. Deep down, he knew she was right. No matter how much he wanted to doubt Ziller, the evidence was compelling, and if the alien was telling the truth, humanity's survival depended on making the right choice quickly. Document. Part 3. The holographic images faded, leaving the room in silence. Rachel Miller sat frozen, her mind struggling to process what she had just seen. The scale of destruction Ziller described was almost incomprehensibly. Entire planets wiped out. Civilizations reduced to ash. She glanced at Ethan Brooks, who was staring at the now empty space where the projections had been, his brow furrowed. For once, he didn't have a sharp remark or biting critique. Even General Laura Hayes looked uneasy, her usual stern expression softened by a hint of unease. Daniel Carter cleared his throat, breaking the tension. "Ziller, if what you've shown us is true and I'm not saying it isn't. Then we need more than just images. We need proof we can verify ourselves. Ziller nodded slowly, as though he had anticipated this request. I understand your caution, Daniel Carter. Trust must be earned, especially when dealing with matters of such gravity. If you wish to see the truth firsthand, I offer to take a delegation from Earth to witness the ruins of a planet destroyed by the Krill Dominion. Rachel's eyes widened. You're offering to take us into space? Yes, Ziller replied calmly. It is a risk, but one I believe is necessary. Seeing the aftermath of the Krill's actions will help you grasp the stakes. However, I must warn youth, the journey will not be without danger. The galaxy is vast and unpredictable. Ethan leaned forward, his voice sharp. And why should we trust you to lead us anywhere? How do we know this isn't some kind of trap? Ziller met his gaze evenly. Because if I wanted to harm you, I could have done so already. My purpose here is to prevent further bloodshed, not to create it. But if you choose not to come, that is your decision. Rachel glanced at Daniel, then at General Hayes. We can't ignore this opportunity. If Ziller is telling the truth, seeing this for ourselves could change everything. It could save lives. General Hayes frowned, clearly weighing the risks. If we send people with him, they'll need protection. And we'll need assurances that they'll return safely. I give you my word, Ziller said simply, but I cannot guarantee safety beyond that. Space is unforgiving, even for those who know its dangers. After a long pause, Daniel nodded. All right, we'll assemble a small team scientists and strategists to accompany you. But make no mistake, Ziller, if anything happens to them, there will be consequences. Zillar inclined his head. Understood. Later that evening, Rachel found herself pacing her hotel room, unable to sleep. The weight of what was happening pressed heavily on her mind. Humanity stood on the brink of something monumental, something terrifying. She couldn't shake the image of the ruined planet Ziller had shown them, its surface scarred and lifeless. What if the same fate awaited Earth? Her thoughts were interrupted by a knock at the door. Opening it, she found Ethan standing there, looking unusually serious. Can we talk? He asked. Rachel stepped aside, letting him in. What's on your mind? Ethan hesitated before speaking. I don't like this. I don't trust Ziller, and I sure as hell don't like the idea of sending people off with him. But he trailed off, rubbing the back of his neck. If he's telling the truth, we're in over our heads. And if we don't figure out how to handle this, we might not get another chance. Rachel nodded. I feel the same way. That's why I volunteered to go. Ethan's eyes narrowed. You did what? I spoke to Daniel earlier. I'm part of the team going with Ziller. Are you out of your mind? Ethan snapped. This is insane. You don't know what you're walking into. And staying here makes us safer. Rachel shot back. Ethan, if Ziller's warning is real, sitting around debating isn't going to protect anyone. Someone has to step up. For a moment, Ethan looked like he wanted to argue further. Instead, he sighed and shook his head. Just be careful, all right? If anything happens to you, I'll never hear the end of it. Rachel managed a small smile. Don't worry, I'll make sure to bring you back a souvenir from space. As Ethan left, Rachel turned back to the window, gazing up at the stars. The universe suddenly felt much larger and far more dangerous than she had ever imagined. But deep down, she knew she had made the right choice. Whatever lay ahead, humanity had to face it together. Document. Part 4, the next morning. The small delegation prepared to leave Earth with Ziller. Rachel Miller stood on the tarmac, her heart racing as she stared at the sleek alien spacecraft. It was even more impressive up close, its smooth surface shimmering faintly in the sunlight. Beside her, Ethan Brooks adjusted the straps of his gear, his usual confidence replaced by a quiet tension. Joining them were two other scientists, Sophia Bennett, a geologist with a knack for analyzing foreign materials, and Kevin Alvarez, an engineer who specialized in advanced technology. Daniel Carter approached the group, his expression serious. "This is it," he said, his voice steady but tinged with concern. "You're representing all of humanity out there. Stay alert, stay safe, and remember why you're going. We're counting on you." Rachel nodded, clutching her data tablet tightly. "We'll do our best, Daniel. We won't let you down." Ziller stepped forward, gesturing toward the ship. "It is time. Follow me, and trust in my guidance." His tone was calm, but there was an undercurrent of urgency that made everyone move quickly. Inside the ship, the humans marveled at their surroundings. The walls glowed softly, pulsing with a gentle light that seemed alive. There were no visible controls or buttons, just smooth surfaces that responded to Ziller's touch. Seats molded themselves around the passengers as they settled in, adjusting to fit perfectly. For a moment, Rachel forgot her fear and felt a spark of wonder. This was real. They were actually leaving Earth, traveling beyond the stars. As the ship ascended, the world below grew smaller, until it was just a blue and white marble floating in the vastness of space. Rachel pressed her face against the transparent wall, staring out at the endless expanse. It was beautiful and terrifying all at once. Ethan sat nearby, his arms crossed, his eyes scanning every detail of the ship, as if searching for weaknesses or traps. Ziller broke the silence. "We will reach the ruins within hours. Prepare yourselves. The sight may be difficult to bear." Hours passed in relative quiet, the hum of the ship providing a soothing backdrop. When they finally arrived, the planet before them was unrecognizable, as a place that had once harbored life. Its surface was barren, covered in jagged craters and scorched earth. Strange metallic shards jutted out from the ground like broken bones, remnants of what might have been cities or machines. "This is it," Ziller said softly. "The final resting place of the Varnak civilization. They were peaceful, creative, beings not unlike yourselves. But when the Krill came, they offered no mercy." Rachel felt a lump form in her throat as she gazed at the desolation. It was hard to imagine anything surviving here, let alone thriving. Sophia leaned closer to the window, her eyes wide. "What happened to them? Did they fight back?" "They tried," Ziller replied. "But resistance only angered the Krill further. In the end, nothing remained." Ethan frowned, his skepticism returning. "How do we know this wasn't staged? How do we know you didn't create this yourself to scare us?" Ziller turned to him, his large eyes unreadable. "You are free to investigate for yourself. The truth lies in the details. Look closely, and you will see the scars left behind by weapons far beyond your understanding." With Ziller's permission, the team disembarked, stepping onto the cracked and dusty surface. The air was thin, requiring them to wear protective suits. As they moved across the landscape, Rachel knelt to examine a piece of twisted metal half buried in the dirt. It was unlike anything she'd ever seen. Its composition defied explanation. Nearby, Kevin ran scans with his equipment, muttering about energy signatures that didn't match any known human technology. Sophia pointed to a massive crater in the distance. "That looks like it was caused by something unnatural, almost like it tore through the planet itself." Rachel nodded slowly, her mind overwhelmed. If this destruction was the work of the Krill, then humanity truly was playing a dangerous game. She glanced at Ethan, who was examining a shard of metal with a grim expression. Even he seemed shaken. As they worked, Ziller stood silently watching over them. His presence was both reassuring and unsettling reminder of how much they still didn't know about the universe. And yet, for the first time, Rachel felt a flicker of hope. If they could learn from this, maybe, just maybe, they could find a way to protect Earth. Document Part 5. As the team explored the ruins, a strange feeling settled over them, a mix of awe and dread. The desolate landscape stretched endlessly, its silence broken only by the sound of their boots crunching against the brittle ground. Rachel Miller moved cautiously, her eyes scanning for anything that might reveal more about the Varnak civilization. She stopped near a jagged structure that looked like it had once been part of a building. Its surface was scorched and melted, as if exposed to unimaginable heat. Sophia Bennett knelt beside her, brushing away layers of dust with gloved hands. "This material looks not natural," she said, her voice muffled through her helmet. "It's too dense, too durable. Whatever they used to build this place, it wasn't meant to break easily." Kevin Alvarez adjusted his scanner, frowning. "At the readings, I'm picking up faint energy traces here. They're old, but I don't know, Rachel. It's like something's still active beneath the surface." Rachel's pulse quickened. "Active? You mean there could be working technology down there?" "Possibly," Kevin replied. "But we need to be careful. If these are remnants of krill weapons, poking around might not be safe." Ethan Brooks, who had wandered slightly ahead, called out sharply, "Over here. There's something you need to see." His tone was urgent, cutting through the eerie quiet. The group hurried toward him, finding him standing near a large crack in the ground. Peering inside, they saw what appeared to be glowing symbols etched into the walls of a hidden chamber below. The light pulsed faintly, almost like it was alive. "What is that?" Sophia asked, leaning closer despite the warning signs flashing in her mind. Ziller stepped forward, his expression darkening. "That is a remnant of krill technology. Do not approach further. Those signals are likely automated defenses left behind to eliminate intruders." Rachel hesitated, torn between curiosity and caution. "But if we can study it, maybe we can learn how to defend ourselves against them." "No," Ziller said firmly. "You underestimate the krill. Their traps are designed to destroy without hesitation. Even I cannot guarantee your safety if you proceed." Ethan, however, wasn't convinced. "How do we know you're not just trying to keep us away from something important? Maybe you're hiding evidence that proves your story is fake." Ziller's gaze hardened. "My purpose here is to warn you, not deceive you. But if you choose to ignore my advice, you do so at your own risk." Ignoring the alien's warning, Ethan grabbed a flashlight and began climbing down into the crack. "Stay here if you want," he muttered. "I'm not leaving without answers." Sophia glanced nervously at Rachel. "Should we stop him?" Before Rachel could respond, Kevin spoke up. "If he goes alone, he might trigger something dangerous. We should go with him at least to make sure he doesn't get himself killed." Reluctantly, Rachel nodded, and the group followed Ethan into the chamber. The air grew colder as they descended, and the pulsing lights seemed to grow brighter. The symbols on the walls shifted subtly, as though reacting to their presence. Rachel felt a chill run down her spine, but she pushed forward, determined to uncover the truth. Suddenly, a low hum filled the chamber, vibrating through the floor beneath their feet. Kevin's scanner went haywire, emitting a series of frantic beeps. "Ah, guys, I think we triggered something." The walls began to shimmer, and tiny metallic particles started swirling in the air. Ziller's voice echoed from above, sharp with urgency. "Leave now. Those are nanobot self-replicating machines designed to dismantle organic matter." Panic set in as the swarm grew larger, moving toward them with alarming speed. Ethan cursed under his breath, realizing too late that he had made a grave mistake. "We need to get out of here now." The team scrambled back toward the surface, the nanobots close behind. Zyler extended a hand, using his own device to create a temporary barrier that slowed the swarm. "Hurry," he urged. Breathless and shaken, the humans climbed back into the open air, collapsing onto the ground as the barrier dissolved behind them. The nanobots hovered momentarily before retreating into the depths of the chamber. Ethan sat there, his face pale, finally understanding the gravity of Ziller's warnings. For the first time, doubt gave way to fear. If this was just a leftover trap, what horrors awaited them if the krill themselves ever arrived? Rachel looked at Zyler, her voice trembling. "You were right. We should have listened to you." simply nodded, his expression grim. Now you understand why humanity must tread carefully. The Krill do not forgive mistakes.